Kathy. I love
Hey,
having Kathy
everybody.
here.
Yay. All right. There's some new people on here. Yorick, Hempstead, George Parcels. Haven't seen you guys before. Hey, Anita. Great seeing you. Michael's coming on board. Hi, everybody. So glad you can join us. Yorick, hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I've met you before, but I guess you forgot about me.
Oh, I didn't forget about you.
Yeah.
And
Don't
Anita.
feel offended. She forgets me all the time.
Oh,
It's okay.
stop it, Scott. I do not.
I have a forgettable face, I guess.
Cool name, though. Not a forgettable name.
I like your hats in the background.
Thank you. Thank you.
As you can see, he's a hat guy.
I see that.
Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
Michael.
Next level speaker, Scott Jenkins is here with us today and everybody mute yourselves. Everybody will have a chance to interact and all that. I'm Rayanna Starr, and this is Next Level Speaker with Scott Jenkins, who is growing very rapidly a wholesaling syndication company. And he is one of my rock star clients. And he is, for anybody who knows him, people who meet Scott become friends with him for life. He's just one of those guys. He's a great guy. He's all about what he can do for other people, how he can help other people. He's an exceptional leader. He leads by getting behind people and lifting them up. And I have the honor of being his business coach, and every call is a breakthrough, wouldn't you say, Scott? Every call, you, me, and Casey.
It's also an eye opener for me, right? I mean, when you're in the weeds, it's hard to see things clearly. So it's nice to have somebody outside objective saying, Scott, you've been a knucklehead this week, so do this. So it's nice Scott, nice to have that.
Yeah, and I would say Scott is a rock star. He's a go-getter. He's a natural sales guy. He's an entrepreneur. And I remember him and Casey had a lot going on, and a move and a lot of things going on in their personal life. And they had been crushing it. They had 1 month they closed 70K in wholesale fees 1 month. And then the next month they were slotted for 197, but we missed that goal, but still you closed a decent amount in wholesale fees. And then they just kind of drifted. They took a detour and got off course. We hadn't had coaching calls for a month, and they got to the call kind of deflated. And one call wonder. That's what it is with us. There's magic. And it was just about getting back to basics, wasn't it, Scott? And then they were off and running again. And everybody, even the most successful people, get off base. And what helps is just having someone who comes, who's not involved, who has a fresh perspective. That's what coaches are there, is to be a sounding board, to just lend perspective and remind you, oh, let's get you back on course. And now you're back on course. And the next time we spoke, they were rocking and rolling again. Right,
you
Scott?
You have a tendency of forgetting the fundamentals. And that it's not forgiving. So we went off on a tangent and thought, hey, this is successful. We can go off and do this. And the next thing you know, the pipeline's not filling anymore. So you get back to basics. And I thank you for the wake up call. So that's what we've been doing since.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to just welcome everyone. Pam and Mike.
Melissa.
It's good to see you guys. Melissa. I want to also welcome Yvonne Makula and Paula, my girl Paula. Anisha, love the way you spell your name, George. And is it Jevon or Heaven? How do you say your name, Jevon Burks? Unmute yourself and correct me, please, so I don't kill your name. Jevon, Heaven, Yvonne?
Is it Javon?
Jevon Burks.
I like the tie.
Nice. Yeah, nice photo.
That's correct.
Jevon. Okay. Jevon, do you not have audio? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Okay. Well, we'll move on. Hey, look, this is a small.
He typed group. That's correct in chat. So that's
no, he said that before I asked that question. Okay, so look, we might have more people join us. This is an intimate group. Scott's got a presentation. Thing about Scott that's really cool is he got very clear early on how he wanted to do his real estate business. He wanted it to be predominantly, he didn't want to do rehabs. And I agreed with him. I feel this way too. He saw, why would I want to do all that work and get tied up for months on a project when I could scale a wholesaling business by partnering up with people in different states and basically going national and raising the bar. And it started with a coaching call we had many months ago when it changed everything, Scott. And I want you to start there, talk about that call we had and how that shifted the way you look at wholesaling. Because what I want everyone's takeaway to be about this is wholesalers suck. And there needs to be someone like Scott who comes in there and raises the bar and the standard for what is actually possible with wholesaling. And that is what Scott is training people to do and what he's doing with his team. And so where some people are struggling to get a deal, his goal is to close 10, 15, 20 wholesales a month with his team by leveraging.
Yeah,
so
40
Scott,
deals a month.
Yeah, let's just introduce you, Scott Jenkins, entrepreneur. He has another business, a security company he runs. He just moved from Brentwood, California up to Oregon. His wife, Casey, and him are just some of my favorite clients. They live up in Oregon or Washington. You're in Oregon.
Oregon,
right? Yeah.
Just outside, 13 miles outside Portland. We're helping my wife's parents who are elderly.
So, yes, Scott, talk to us a little bit about, with all the choices, because you're a Pace Morby guy and subject to, and you're a Fortune Builder student. Tell us what got you focused on this niche and how it all started.
Well, first, that's what I love about you. You are a straight shooter. I mean, you say it the way it is. So that's why I think we get along so bloody well. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott. Let's keep it informal, Scott. There are some people I recognize on the call, others I don't. Those who I don't, I would love to get to know you better after this evening. So if you want to share your contact information, I am always networking. I mean, that's the key to what we do is networking. So let's take a step back. My wife and I got into real estate. I think it was late 2018, something like that. 2019, I did a lot of studying, we went to a lot of boot camps, and we're trying to figure out who the hell we were. I started getting into rehabbing and really realized very quickly, I'm not a DIY guy. I just am not. I have a phobia of a hammer. And my wife knows it. She's the DIY person in the family. She knows very well, if there's anything to fix, do not ask me, because I will muck it up. So rehabbing for me, it just didn't fit. I wasn't excited about it. I just wasn't. And when I started thinking about this industry, and I was really struggling to get a deal. And I took a serious step back, and I was thinking, what the heck? We're in real estate now. What is this all about? And one evening, my wife showed me a YouTube of Brent Daniels. I don't know if anybody knows Brent Daniels. Brent Daniels, TTP. Talk to people, that's what it stands for. And I watched that YouTube video and a light went off in my head. And I thought, this is what I'm called to do, wholesaling. This is what I can do. I know I can. It's finding a distressed property, meeting with a homeowner, meeting with that seller. They've got a problem. They don't know what the solution is going to be. At Fortune Builders, we learn so much, and we bring so much to the table that other wholesalers just don't know, and they probably never, ever will, because 90% of them don't take the time to learn. So coming from Fortune Builders, I got on the TTP bandwagon. And I learned about wholesaling, and I admit it, I was addicted. I watched, I don't know how many YouTube videos of Brent Daniels. I did his classes. I went through his scripts. I still use his script to this day. It's one of the best out there for cold calling. I I role played. I went to meetings. I went to seller meetings. I effed it up. I don't know how many seller meetings I effed up, but the bottom line is, as Brent will say, action equals results equals education. And what I see a lot is people get stuck in the education loop, and they're eternal students. They're learning, but they're not doing anything. So I put that aside and I said, look, I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to bare my soul. I'm going to do as many seller meetings as I can. And I started door knocking. And that's where I cut my teeth, door knocking. I went door knocking and I knocked on doors, and I was scared silly walking up that door, knocking on that door and talking to a seller. But I learned very quickly, the more people I talked to, the better I got at it, the more comfortable I became at it. And then I started calling. I think to this day, I've probably been on the phone with over 5,000 people. And I think that's actually low. I do a lot of calling every single day. And I love it. That excites me to get out of bed, is getting on the phone,
pause for
talking
a
to
second, Scott. I want to
Yep.
I want to emphasize something. Consider me doing the parentheses here.
Mhm.
Scott got off track with this practice of his because Scott's zone of genius is sales. Like, he is the guy who should be talking to sellers and buyers.
Mhm.
And he got off track with this
Mhm.
and got pulled off track with all the busy work. And then we got back to basics, and he realized, no, the beginning of the day is where I have to make time for my calls.
Morning.
And he was dying on the vine, like, and so he made that a priority. So here's the thing, guys. That is his top priority, and he is consistent
Yep.
every day.
Yep.
What is it, 9 to noon that you do that, Scott?
No, it's 6:30 to 11:30.
6:30 in the morning until 11:30.
Well,
Yeah.
because I do East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
So I start my East
6:30
Coast calls
to 11. 5
Mhm.
hours a day he calls.
every day. Yep. So, well, but I would say 5 days consistently, 6 days if I can. So I'll put in 30 hours of calls, because I'm thinking, if I'm calling 30 hours and you're not, I'm taking the deal from you. That's as simple as that. If you're afraid to pick up that phone, I'm getting that deal that you should have got. So that's what's in my mind. Sorry, guys, it's a business. You got to be on the phone. You got to be talking to people. So I started on the East Coast and I work myself west. So that's the way I run it. I do a dialer. I do a 3-line dialer. So I'm dialing all the time. My dialer goes beep in my ear, so I know when somebody picks up, so I can do other things. I don't get ingrained in writing a contract because I need to focus on a contract. I will do other menial stuff, but I need to focus on that call. So when that person picks up, I'm focused on that call. That's it. I put my cell phone away. I do not get distracted with Facebook or text messages or anything else. I don't have my cell phone on my desk. I have a notepad on my desk. I don't type when I'm talking to somebody. I'm taking pencil notes. There's something creative. There's something magical when you're writing on a piece of paper. So I love writing on a piece of paper. I will actually brainstorm it, mind map it. When I'm talking to somebody, I know the points I want to cover. I know what I want to get out of that seller. I know the 4 pillars. I don't know how many people know the 4 pillars. Raise your hand. Who knows the 4 pillars? Wow. It's either
Well,
nobody's
you have
hearing
to
me.
give it context. 4 pillars for what?
What are the 4 pillars you need to get out of a seller on the phone? There are 4 pillars. 4 things a seller needs to tell you to know if it's a deal or not. Does anybody know what they are? Oh, this is going to be great. All right. I love wholesaling, everybody. So I've asked Rihanna before we got on here, slow me down, because I get so bloody excited about wholesaling. And it's so much in my blood that I want to share as much as I can with as many people as I can and teach as many people to do what I do. So 4 pillars.
All right. So hold on. So
Sorry, slow me down.
Javon,
Yep.
timeline, motivation, and price.
Oh, what's the other one? That's 3. You've got them.
Condition.
Hallelujah, brother. Yes. You want to know motivation, condition, timeline, price. It's going to be hard to get the price out of them.
It's in the chat
but-
box, everybody.
Yep. Jevin, you've got to be a wholesaler, buddy. If you are, raise your hand or put in there. Yeah, I wholesale. I would love to know. All right. How many people wholesale? Yes, Melissa, I know you do. All right, everybody. Yes, I am. I thought so. Okay.
Yeah, and if you want us to see you raising your hand, you have to be on camera.
Yeah, be on camera. Hey, join us, man. Jump on in. So, okay, you've got, I'll go through the presentation in a minute, but the 4 things you want to know, you want to try to get out of that seller, and that's part of the conversation. If nobody has Brent Daniels' script, let Rihanna know. I will send you the script for Brent Daniels. Read it, role play it. It's the best script out there. You've got the 5 seller objections. Sellers will not have any more objections than those 5. Once you get used to those and you write down some of your own, you're going to flow. But anyway, you want to know the condition of the property. You want to know the timeline. You want their motivation. That's the most important thing I want to get out of a seller. What is the motivation? If there's no motivation, they're not going to sell the property. It's as simple as that. You got tire kickers. They want to know what you're going to offer for the property. That's a waste of my time. I am going to cut that conversation short and I'm dialing the next one. I'm not going to spend time with them. I may say I'll call you back in 6 months, but I probably won't. That will go on my dead call list, and I'll call that list maybe in 9 months, 10 months, but I'm not going to focus on them. If I can get 2, 3 of those 4 pillars out of them, that's closer to a deal. So anyway, I discovered wholesaling. I got into wholesaling. Wholesaling fits my life. And look, we just moved from California to Portland, and my business is running. I'm working in right now 16 regions. I want to be in 21 by the end of the year. It doesn't matter where I am. As long as I have a surface, as long as I have a cell phone, I'm operating. Now, when I learned Brent Daniels, what I learned was direct to seller, right? Person to person. What really put this on steroids for me is when I did, astro flipping. I don't know if you can see my shirt. There you go. Astro flipping with Jamil Damji, because now you're leveraging other wholesalers. So that brings a whole new context to wholesaling. It's networking with other wholesalers. It's a wholesaler. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's a wholesaler who's got a deal. They bring it to me because I've got a good disposition network. I've got a lot of buyers. I've got iBuyers, hedge funds. They can't move the property. That's called an acquisition wholesaler. They bring it to me. I have a disposition network. So they will bring me the property. I will add a fee on top of it, or we will JV, and I will move that property. I will sell it. So
all right, hold on, Scott. Do you want to jump to your presentation?
Let's do it. You want to share a screen?
I don't want, whatever you're comfortable doing, but if that's going to keep you on track and,
I want to make sure that.
And I think a lot of people are visual learners if they have that in front of them.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me know when you're ready.
You should be able to share it. Share screen.
Let me see. Share screen. Let me know if you can see it. Do you see that?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, let's go from the beginning. All right, the topic, raising the bar on wholesaling, and we're going to talk about that because I think people have probably experienced the same thing I do. It's dealing with wholesalers and dealing with wholesalers who do and do not understand truly what they're doing and how to come up with the right ARV, how to come up with a rehab budget, putting that deal together. Is it a deal or is it not a deal? So we're going to talk about that. A little bit about who I am. Husband, father, mentor, serial entrepreneur. That's in my blood. I love creating. I love building. But then I love getting people who are good at doing what they do and turning it over. former Marine Vietnam vet. I think that's probably what drives me and probably what really created who I am today. 23 years spent working and living in Europe, fluent in French, former US government corporate America, real estate in 2018, fortune builders, astro flipping, sub-2 creative finance with Pace Morby, and learning every day. I mean, I love to learn. I love to get better. And I think that's part of what we all do. More than 600 hours of real estate education. I think there's probably more now. Consummate wholesaler and men's physique competitor. COVID-19 kind of put that into a tailspin, but I want to compete next year. So that's who I am and what I do. What is a wholesaler? I think, you could probably sum it up in a very simple term: sourcer of properties, not sorcerer, but a sourcer of properties. That's what I do. I find properties and I bring them to my buyers. That's as simple as that. I have buyers. Those are probably the most important people I talk to, is understanding what your buyer is looking for and finding the properties and bringing them to you. That buyer can be a fortune builder student, or a hedge fund, or an iBuyer, or a buy and hold, or landlord looking for multifamily. Once they tell me what they're looking for, where they're looking for it, I find the property and I bring it to them. So I find us to be an invaluable resource for investors and sellers. And we're an ally with real estate agents. I've had a lot of conversation with people who are wholesalers and try to develop relationship with real estate agents, and they're having a difficult time. And I find that they're having a difficult time because they can't explain what they do and who they are. And real estate agents are bringing them properties that are listed on the MLS. That's not a deal for us. I can't play on the MLS. Some people do, and you can find deals on the MLS that are listed if the seller is willing to drop their price. But a lot of times they're not, because they think their property is worth a certain price and they want to get that price. The properties I want from a real estate agent are the pocket listings, the ugly ducklings, the worst properties they've got, the ones they know they can't put on the MLS. Those are the properties that I want, and they're going to get commissioned on those. And by the way, they'll get their commission and probably a little extra thank you at the end of the day. We're an indispensable part of the supply chain for private investors, rehabbers, institutional buyers, hedge funds, because what they don't want to do, they don't want to deal with emotional sellers. It's as simple as that. They don't want to take that side of the business. They want it to be easy for them. They want us to bring that property basically on a silver platter, bring it to title, and they close. Easy. If that deal fits their box, hence buyer buy box, if it fits inside that box, they're going to buy it each and every time. What is wholesaling? This is what I learned from Brent, and this is what people typically believe wholesaling is. You've got the seller, you've got me or you as the wholesaler, and you've got the buyer. That's the very simple traditional way to wholesale. A key, and I think maybe a lot of people don't know that, but at any given time in any market, there's 6 to 10% of distressed homeowners in a market. So I think last night we heard on Wholesale Hotline, there are 10 million vacant properties right now in the US. Vacant. 10 million. So, I mean, get that list and you start calling. I mean, you're on a roll. You will get a lot of deals, just vacant properties in your area. Properties can be purchased with a purchase and sale agreement, or sold through a assignment agreement, or a double close. Does everybody understand what an assignment agreement is and what double close is?
Just go ahead and define it anyway. We have some newer investors here.
Okay, if I get, well, let's go to the next slide and I'll explain it. All right, this is where, let me see. This is traditional, where I've got a purchase contract and another. I put the property under contract with a homeowner, the seller, for $100,000. I do that on a purchase and sale agreement with that homeowner. So I've offered them $100,000 for their home. I now put my fee on top of that, my wholesaling fee of $15,000. I turn around and I either assign it or I sell it to a buyer. So I have a choice now. I can do one of two things. I can do a sales agreement, which is a B2C contract with the buyer at $115,000. Or I can simply assign the contract that I have with the seller to the buyer. That's the simplest way of doing it. So you refer to your base contract that you have with the seller, and you assign your contract to the buyer for $115,000. Now, with
Yeah,
all of
Scott.
that, yep.
Yeah, Scott. So right there is where people get lost in wholesaling. A lot of people, I've coached a lot of students at Fortune Builders, and you've met people at Pace Morby,
Yep.
and you've done a
Yep.
lot of different systems you've studied. Is people often don't want to do wholesaling because they simply just don't understand what it is. So all wholesaling is a rehab you find for someone else. That's it. And there's two
Bottom
ways.
line.
Yeah. And all assigning a contract is, and in some states, the rules are a little stricter. There's about 5 or 6 states right now in the United States that you cannot legally assign a contract. You
Correct.
have
You need-
to close on it, buy
Correct.
it, and then you turn around and sell it. All
Hence-
assigning a contract is, Scott, go ahead and go like you're talking to a kindergartner, assigning a contract. What do you have to look for in a contract? If there's a realtor involved, talk about very specifically what that means and what it looks like to do it.
Okay, if I use this scenario where I have a seller and I've put that property under a purchase and sale agreement. That purchase and sale agreement, though, I think the one place where people stumble is they will have Joe Smith who says he wants to sell the property. And they put Joe Smith on that purchase and sale agreement. They reference the property. Sometimes I will see it where they don't have the APN number. To me, that's a big mistake, because the APN number, that's where the county clerk is going to identify that property. Not so much the address, but the APN number. So the APN number for me is probably one of the most important pieces in that whole product. And then you have the property description. What is it? Is it a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square feet? It's got a 2-car garage. Describe the property in that purchase and sale agreement. Then you're going to have the terms of that purchase and sale agreement. What did you agree to pay for the property, which is $100,000? What did you agree to put as an earnest money deposit? I never put more than $500. I know some people say they put $5,000, some people put more, some people put a little less. I never put more than 500. And if anybody asks me, like a realtor will ask me, well, we want you to put more than 500. I will agree to put $500 and do a step up to, let's say, 5,000, an additional 4,500 at the end of the inspection period. My inspection periods are always 14 days. That inspection period is absolutely crucial, because that's your time to decide whether or not you're going to follow through on that contract or if you need to pull out. So in 14 days, if you cannot sell that property, you've probably not done a good job of crunching your numbers. Because honestly, if a wholesale deal will sell in 72 to 96 hours, you shouldn't need more time than that to sell a wholesale deal. If you do, you either bought it in the wrong market, there was no demand, and I think we should talk about that, how to determine if there's a demand in a market, or your price is too high. And I go back to what we said before, when you do your numbers, if you aren't at a certain percentage to ARV when you bring that property to a buyer, it's not going to sell because there's not enough meat on the bone. So you go through that agreement, you put your EMD, you put your the inspection period. The closing date is always 30 days after your inspection period. I've seen people do inspection period aligned with closing date. you're putting yourself into a very precarious situation. Then you have anything that's going to remain in the property. If you got a hoarder property, you list it. All items remaining in the property at close of escrow become the property of the buyer. I have had contracts where the buyer has, or the seller has said, I need more time to leave. This is an argument that a lot of hoarders or people who are in a financially distressed situation will say, I need more time. I need more time. That's fine. We will do a 30-day carry forward, letting you stay in the house for an additional 30 days, but we're going to do a financial holdback. A holdback in a contract, if we're buying the property at $100,000, I'm going to hold back in title $10,000 or $15,000 until the seller actually vacates the property. When they vacate the property and turn over the keys, that's when that remaining money is released. Then you take that contract, once that's all executed, and I'll go back to what I said before, where people make a mistake. Joe Smith says he's going to sell it, but actually it's Joe and Lynn Smith who are on title. There are two people on title, and they forget to get the second person to sign that contract. It's an invalid contract. If you don't have all buyers on that and they haven't done their homework and they don't know that, it's an invalid contract. So you get everyone to sign it. Now you've got your base contract. That's the purchase and sale agreement. Now I find a buyer. So I take an assignment agreement, and that assignment agreement, the first paragraph is going to say, I, the seller or assignor, I'm assigning, Dogwood Home Solutions is assigning to ABC LLC, assignee, this contract. And again, you describe the property, the address, the APN, description of the property for this sum of money. And you spell it out and write it out, $115,000. And close of escrow, you align the close of escrow to the base contract with the seller. So they both close at the same time. You list the title company. I always choose my title company. I do not choose to use the seller's title company or the buyer's title company. If you have a good relationship with a title company and your title company understands how to do wholesale deals, you stay with them. Because you may run into a situation where a title company has never done a wholesale deal. You file all the paperwork, you get close to the closing date, and they say, well, we can't do this. We don't understand how to do a wholesale deal. We don't understand how to do an assignment. We don't do them. So now you're stuck and the clock is ticking. So you develop a good relationship with title companies, interview them, make sure they understand what you do. So all my paperwork now goes to title to open escrow. I go a little step further.
All right, hold on, Scott. Hold on.
Yep.
I want you to just pause for a minute about title companies, because this comes up a lot in our calls about how key the title company is and why.
Crucial.
And
Absolutely
then
crucial.
also I want you to, what I want everyone to really get here is that the way Scott wholesales is, it's like he is the deal concierge. He isn't just putting something under contract and then schlepping it to a buyer. He controls the entire transaction. Everything. And serves everyone. He's serving the seller, he's serving the buyer. He is the one, he's the rainmaker. So he takes wholesaling to a whole nother level. Talk about why a good title company is so crucial in that process for you, Scott.
You want everything to go smooth for both the seller and the buyer. The worst thing to happen is to get close to close of escrow and have to pull everything and find someone else. The seller is expecting to get paid on a certain date, especially if they're a distressed homeowner. They're looking forward to getting that money, and you've made a commitment to them. So if you're playing it loose and fast with a title company, and you're guessing they know what you do, you're going to run into issues, and you're going to kind of tick off the buyer. because the buyer is going to look at you and say, boy, this guy really doesn't know what he's doing. You should have known that. You should have known the title company doesn't do that, especially when they've deposited their earnest money. Because the one thing we'll talk about real quick is how you cover your own earnest money deposit. I never put money in, ever. I have never put money in. My earnest money is covered by the buyer. We can talk about that. But I interview all my title companies, and I want to be sure that they understand who I am, how I work, and they understand that I'm sitting in Portland, but I'm closing a deal in Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm not going to be able to walk into the title company and go sign something. That's impossible. So do you do remote closing? Do you accept mobile notary? I do find notaries very near to where I am all the time. So I can go in, sign a document, they can send it to them, they can do remote closings. So there's a lot of things the title company should be able to do for you. They should understand an assignment agreement. They should understand remote closings. And simply in conversation, you will find out whether or not they're comfortable with it or not. And honestly, I've never found one to be dishonest, to tell me, yes, we do them, and then find out they don't. If they do it, they say they do it, and they've done it, especially if they have a lot of cash buyers. If they have a lot of cash buyers, the likelihood they understand assignments is really high, because I'm not the only wholesaler in the nation. There are a lot of me's out there. So if a title company says they have a lot of cash buyers, the likelihood of them doing assignments is really quite high. So a title company is a crucial partner to me. It's a crucial member of my team. And by the way, that's one of my best resources to find buyers, is my title company. Because like I said, they have a lot of people buying cash. Who are buying cash? Buyers. So when I'm looking for buyers, one of my resources is my title company. When
Okay, I want to emphasize that, Scott. Like, look at how strategic he thinks. Okay, there's always more opportunity than you think. Okay, who thought, oh, I'm going to build my buyers list through a title company until Scott just spoke? You're not thinking that. We think of title companies for closing deals or finding liens, or, they do research on the property. So if anything, the reason I invited Scott to do this talk today is to expand what wholesaling could be in your business. Now, he is building a national team. He'll talk about that later. Scott, get back to this slide, because I don't think everyone here understands the acquisition wholesaler versus the disposition wholesaler.
Okay, that's where this is the whole astro flipping model, where now you're putting your wholesale activity on steroids. So I live in Portland. I don't live in Jacksonville, Florida, but I do a lot of deals in Florida. I do a lot of deals in Georgia. I do a lot of deals in North Carolina. I do a lot of deals in Tennessee. I do a lot in Arizona, Southern California. I don't live there, but an acquisition wholesaler does. So that guy is out there finding properties. And what he or she is really good at doing is finding distressed properties. Really good at doing that, and really good at negotiating the price. What I have that acquisition wholesaler may not have is I've got a very strong buyer network in that area. So I partner up with that acquisition wholesaler. We form a strategic alliance that, okay, you find a property, you bring it to me. Now there's two ways we can work. It's either you have your fee that you've already put on that contract and you bring it to me. Like in this case, the base contract with the seller is $100,000. The AC wholesaler puts $5K on top of it. So the acquisition wholesaler brings it to me for $105,000. Now, there's two things that are going to happen at that time. The first thing that's going to happen, I have to have the legal right to market that property. You cannot market a property if you do not have equitable interest in the property. Equitable interest means you've paid toward the purchase of the property. So I issue an option agreement that has a monetary value of $1 toward that property, toward the purchase of that property. Once that acquisition wholesaler signs that agreement with me, I can now market the property. So you have two different types of option agreements. You've got an exclusive and non-exclusive. I always use non-exclusive. It's rare that you will find any acquisition wholesaler that's going to sign an exclusive, because if they do, no one else but me can market that property. So I always issue a non-exclusive. Now I can take that property and I can take it to my buyers and offer that property to them. So let's say in this case, yep.
Hold on, Scott. Hold
Yep.
on. Let me jump in there. And
Yep.
Scott and I talked about this ahead of time, that just so you guys don't think I'm being rude, that I keep barging in. We talked about him getting on a roll and me interrupting him sometimes to emphasize some points. So I just want everyone not to
And I
think I'm
appreciate that. Thank you.
being rude,
No.
you know. But so you see, this acquisition wholesaler is the deal finder. What's really cool about the way Scott's got things set up, and you'll see that they've get the 5K, but the disposition wholesalers at 10. And the reason for that is that all the acquisition wholesaler has to do is find the deal and make sure the numbers are good.
Yep.
What Scott does as the disposition wholesaler, so he's building an army of acquisition wholesalers. He's the disposition wholesaler. He is doing all the transactional work and finding the buyer, that he's getting the title company. He's doing all the transactional work. So the acquisition wholesaler isn't bogged down in all that. And a lot of people don't want to do wholesaling because it's a pure marketing game. And then you get bogged down in the administration part and the finding the buyer. That's why the disposition wholesaler is getting paid more, because they're going to take the deal over the finish line. Anything
Correct.
you want to say about that, Scott? Did I steal
No,
your
that's
thunder? I hope
perfect.
not.
No. That's absolutely perfect. You know, some people are built to be acquisition wholesalers. They aren't built to be disposition. They're very good at finding these properties, talking to sellers, hunting them down, driving for dollars. I mean, driving for dollars is one of the best lists you'll ever have. And that's what they love to do. That's what gets them out of bed in the morning. Doing disposition and writing the contracts and doing the agreements and working with title, that turns them off. If they don't like doing it, you don't want them to do it. You want them to shine and do what they're brilliant at doing, which is finding the property, bringing it in.
It's a win-win.
Yes. And the thing is, the key to the whole successful relationship is when that act wholesaler brings you that property and it fits my buy box. Now, don't forget, I've got buyers who give me their buy box. I give my buy box to the act wholesaler. It's a chain. So if that property fits my buy box, I know I've got a buyer. That's the whole beauty. If somebody brings me a property and I haven't explained to them very clearly what I'm looking for, I may not even have a buyer for it. So now we've got this property sitting in limbo. This guy is so excited. He found this property. He's waiting to get paid, and I can't move it. If I can't move it, he doesn't get paid. So our relationship goes sour real fast. So what I have to do is make sure that when that property comes to me, I can move it. So that's the key to the whole relationship. So there's two ways we do it. It's either he adds his fee on top of it or we JV. I will JV on a lot of deals, especially if I know the deal is slim. If there's not much meat on it, but we're still going to move it, we'll JV. We'll split the assignment fee 50-50 down the middle, and we will sell that property. So it's so simple to do. Once I get that property, now I'm on the disposition side. So I'm either going to take it to a buyer, where in this image, it's D, that's the end buyer, or it will go to a disposition wholesaler, or both at the same time. I have sent properties to both of them, and I do in all my lists. I will take it first to my VIP buyers. They have 24 hours to make a decision. If they don't make a decision in 24 hours, it goes wide. And part of that list are disposition wholesalers. So they will jump on and say, hey, I love the property. Do you mind if I market it? Not at all. Send me an option. So they will send me an option, the right to market my property, and they will turn it around and bring it to their buyers. So then they add, I take it, I got it at 105, I bring it out at 115, they put 10K onto it, they sell it at 125. So that's, some people call that a daisy chain. I call that the streamline effect to sell a property. That's really it. You're taking it to people who can sell that property. So in that whole process, you've got several agreements that are going to have to be done, right? You've got the initial A to B contract, which is the purchase and sale agreement the AC wholesaler has with the seller. I've got an option agreement with that AC wholesaler, giving me the right to market that property. I now send it to a buyer. I've got a disposition wholesaler who wants to market my property. He needs to send me an option agreement. So that's another document that I'm holding. I find a buyer. So I now decide what I'm going to do with that. I can either assign it or do a contract with the buyer. Let's say I do an assignment agreement with the buyer. As I said before, clearly write out what the property is, what the contract is, what the price is. I send that to him and what the required EMD is. Let's talk EMD. Let's say the AC wholesaler is asking me, because he committed to the seller, a $1,500 EMD. I'm going to turn around and ask my buyer for a $3,500 EMD. Why? Because that buyer's EMD is going to cover all of ours when it hits title. So his EMD is used to fund EMD for me and EMD for the AC wholesaler. So neither of us are putting money on the table. The buyer
All right, and
is.
Scott, in some states, there's due diligence money. Like I live in North Carolina.
Correct.
And North Carolina is an as-is state. And so when you purchase, like when I purchased my property, I had to write a $1,000 due diligence check directly to the sellers. As is, even in the due diligence, if I were to walk away from the deal, I automatically sacrificed my due diligence. There was no choice. The only way you get the due diligence back is if the seller pulls out of the deal. So
Correct.
that is an added risk in the state of North Carolina, and there are other states like that. So you not only have an earnest money deposit, you have a due diligence, and in North Carolina, the due diligence isn't part of escrow. It goes directly to the buyer.
Goes directly to the buyer. You have to understand I think that's key too. When you're wholesaling, you're doing virtual wholesaling, you've got to study your market. I talk to a lot of wholesalers who bounce around and they find an opportunity on, I don't know, Facebook or wherever. And all of a sudden they're trying to wholesale in Louisiana. Well, what do you know about the laws in Louisiana? What do you know about the market in Louisiana? I mean, it takes me a long time before I say I'm going to start wholesaling in a market. I will do a lot of homework in that market. I will use PropStream. I do the heat map. I find the hottest areas. I hone down in those areas. I find the median home price. I try to know as much about that area as possible. I will pick up the phone. Who do I talk to? Can anybody tell me who the first people I talk to in a market is? In a new market?
Realtors.
Real estate agents.
You're close. That's the second one. Title companies. Title companies. Why? Because they're the ones who are doing the closings. They know where properties are selling and not selling. They know who's buying what and how many. I mean, a title company, when they tell me they're doing 50, 60, 70 closes a month, they're doing a lot of closings. So I ask them, where are the majority of the properties you're closing? What are the zip codes? They'll tell me. They will give me, they want to do business with you. It's a partnership. They want your business. So they're going to be as investor friendly as they can be. I mean, then I will speak with realtors. I always have in the back of my mind, a realtor is in it for themselves. They're going to put themselves forward and they're going to promote themselves, which is, we all do that. I get it. I want an impartial person as much as possible when I'm gathering my initial data. And for me, that's my title company. The title company is going to be upfront because they want to do business with me. So I'm going to ask them where the majority of properties are being purchased and sold. And they'll give me the zip codes. And then I'll start speaking with other people. And then I will hunt down rehabbers and I will speak with rehabbers. Where are you rehabbing? What zip codes are you buying in? What kind of properties you're buying? Now I'm developing my buyers list. While I'm on the phone with a title company, I may not ask them on the first call because that I think is being insensitive. But when I tell them I'm going to be bringing you a property very soon, when I do, I now am going to ask them for their buyers list. I want to bring them something before I ask for too much. I want them to see that I'm going to be a true partner with them. So I'm going to bring them some business and then I'm going to ask for their list. And as we develop that relationship, I'm going to ask them to start helping me market myself in that market. So there you go. That's taking it to a different level. But in this case, you're going to do.
Yeah, but Scott, the whole
Yep.
point of your presentation is raising the bar, and it's these
Yep.
these little finesses, these little extra steps that you take, like how you're building your buyers lists in different markets through title companies and then your acquisition wholesaler. And you know, you're building a network of people that operate as a team and everyone benefits. So
Yes.
though, you know, you're like, that's another story, but it's these little things that you are doing that a lot of wholesalers don't do. They're just in a hurry to get the thing on and sell it. You are
And you-
truly concierging the deal.
Yes, you can't. And I think that's where I want to talk about that because I deal with wholesalers every day. And I get as frustrated with wholesalers as an investor does because they don't do their bloody homework. And that really ticks me off. All you needed to do was spend one more hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours doing your homework, and you would be able to answer every question I have on a property. I don't know how many emails a day I get from wholesalers. It's over 200, 250. And I know the names now of the wholesalers that I won't even open their email. I just delete it because they don't do their homework and they don't understand how to come up with a real ARV. They don't understand how to estimate the rehab. They don't understand what holding costs are, what closing costs are. They're going to put something, they're going to slap it together. They're going to try to make it really pretty. And they're going to say, well, my ARV is good. You know, it's $900,000 and the best ARV is 650. The numbers don't make sense. So I always put myself in the buyer's shoes. If somebody brought me a deal, what do I want to see? How do I know it's a good deal? So when I put out a deal, I guess I go that extra mile to be sure that when the buyer sees that property, they get all the information they need. They are able to make a decision, an informed decision on that purchase because it's a big purchase. And when I estimate my rehabs, I will always go a bit high. I would rather the rehabber go in and have a less costly rehab and call me and say, you know what, I saved money, than, hey, you told me it's going to be 45 and actually it cost me 70. That's a sour taste in their mouth because when I tell them that they're probably going to have this as a net profit, I want them to get that.
And okay, so there is a point of contention right there that you address. And this is where, when I say wholesalers suck, this is one of the points that they suck on is they're too skinny in their numbers. I'm just going to go on a quick little tangent, Scott, and I want you to address these points because
Okay.
this is what makes you a Superman wholesaler. Is one, they don't factor in enough costs. They don't factor in enough repairs.
Mhm.
They don't factor in the right closing costs because they don't
Mhm.
know their market. They don't factor in enough hold time. They don't factor in the right financing costs. They don't factor in enough in the numbers. That's
Correct.
one thing.
Yep.
Number two, they get greedy. They do
Yes.
as little as possible, and then
Yes.
they want to take profit from the person who's risking everything, which is the rehabber, and they want, maybe there's $50,000 of profit in there, and they're going to try and take 20. No, not cool. Right. And then the third place is they're just lazy. They're not willing to provide service with the deal. So this is what makes Scott extraordinary. And if there's any of those points that you want to address, you were addressing the price point, but that is probably the biggest complaint of rehabbers is wholesalers just have no credibility with rehabbers because of that. They can't trust the numbers.
Well, and I think that's why we're blessed. I think a lot of people, if not everyone on the call, is fortune builders, or I think a lot of rehabbers who do YouTubes and they try to learn how to wholesale. Do yourself a favor, tag along with a rehabber. Go out to construction sites, go out to a rehab, understand what it takes to rehab. I did after Fortune Builders. I hung out with rehabbers. I talked to rehabbers to try to get an understanding of what the hell it was. That's why I realized I would never do a rehab because I don't like it, but I need to understand it. I need to understand that process, and I need to understand the permitting process. I need to understand from start to finish. What are your contracts? How much labor do you need? How much time do you need to do a rehab? And when going into a market, I've got great buyers in all my markets and a lot of my rehabbers. I have intimate conversations with them. We have become telephonic friends. And I will ask them, what is your average cost per square foot to do your rehabs? And they tell me. They want to do a deal. They want me to bring deals to them. So like Jerry in Florida, I love the guy. And I know for his average rehab in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, it's $50 a square foot. So what do? I run at 57. Every time, 57. Because I want him to have that contingency in there. So when I bring a deal to Jerry, I run my estimates. And how do I do it? You got 2,000 square feet, running at $57 a square foot. I know his average rehab is $50. So I'm golden.
All right.
When I'm done with that, I'm good.
Pause with that because there are just so many nuggets of brilliance. I want to pause here and emphasize something. When I coach people to build a buyer's list, I'll give them ideas on how to do it. And then I'll ask them, well, have you spoken to them?
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then how did you build your buyer's list? Well, I went in this group and I saw these people and I just added them. And I said, did you email them? Did you text them? Did you call them? No. And I said, you do not have a buyer's list then.
No.
What Scott is brilliant at is building relationships. And his zone of genius is talking to sellers and buyers. And that's the important piece of the puzzle, the beginning and the end of the deal. And then what he does is he's spending time with his acquisition wholesalers and he's training them. And I don't know if you have more slides, Scott, but I want you to talk about the process of building your team as well.
Okay, let's just go through what it takes to be a wholesaler. Patience. I mean, gee whiz, if you want to start wholesaling, people get so, they try to go, what's that old saying, put the cart in front of the horse, or you count your chickens before they're hatched. it honestly, if you start wholesaling, it's going to take 90 days to get your first deal. I mean, some people do it quicker. Some people get it, 1 week out of the gate. But on average, it's going to take you 90 days because you've got to get into a rhythm. You've got to feel comfortable with the process. You have to master it. And then you've got to have consistency. I mean, like I said, I got off track for a while and I'm back on it. But it's every calling. And my schedule is mapped out. I mean, all of my revenue generating time is in green. So that stuff for me is precious. I do not want to be disturbed during my green time because that's when I'm making money. That's when I'm doing what I love to do. Conquering the three P's, procrastination, paralysis by analysis, and perfectionism. Get out there and screw it up. I think that's the best lesson I ever learned. Get out and mess it up. Go screw it up. Go say something stupid to a seller. That's wonderful. I will salute you if you do that. Because you're learning by that mistake. Get out there and just fumble it. When I call a seller, I have a feeling I'm calling my best friend. And my best friend probably has a problem that they don't want to share with me. I need to find out what that problem is so I can help my best friend. I don't consider it's a seller who doesn't want to talk to me. If you think the person on the phone is not going to want to talk to you, if you think the person you're calling is going to be aggressive, you're probably not going to want to make that call. So
Yeah,
in my
and let me
mind,
just emphasize here and highlight, I'm a highlighter in this.
Yep.
Same thing with the buyers.
Yes.
It is really about building the relationships, and that's Scott's superpower is he doesn't just put a name on a list. He knows Jerry in Jacksonville, what is price per square footage. He's taking the time to schmooze and nurture those relationships. He's investing in his relationship and being very serious about it.
Mhm.
So when he talks about being patient and taking 90 days, it's to lay down a foundation. You are building an empire one brick at a time. You aren't throwing a shack together. So when you're building a castle, it takes time. You've got a plan. When you're
Mhm.
building a shack, you throw it together. He's building a castle. Okay.
And I think a key I learned too, and I try to respect that every day with whoever I talk to. It's not about the property. It's about the people. When I go to see a seller and I walk in and I have a in-person meeting with a seller, they will ask me, well, do you want to see the property? And I'll tell them, no, I don't want to see the property. I want to meet with you. And they're almost surprised because they think I'm there to look at the house. I'm not there to look at the house. I'm there to get to know you. And that changes the whole conversation because nobody wants to get to know them. They think I'm coming there to take over the house or God knows what. But when you tell them, no, I'm here to meet and talk to you, and you sit down at a table and you put your pencils and paper away. I never go in with anything, honestly. The first meeting, my hands are empty because I don't want them to think I'm coming into the contract. I want to get them signed right away. I have nothing. I will have it in my car where it's close by, but I won't come in with anything. I want to get to know them, and we will sit there and have a conversation and get to know each other. And that the ice just breaks away. The defensive mechanisms drop. And now you're getting to know the person and they're starting to share their problems with you. Once you find that, you've got the motivation, you've got the timeline, you've got everything. And now you can truly help them. I use the same thing with a buyer because a buyer, all they want is to give me as much information as they can to help me help them. So the key to sales is listening. Ask a question, shut up, listen. They're going to talk to you. The buyers will do the same thing. They want to tell me as much as they can so I can bring them the properties they're looking for. Let's go over here. Deal or no deal. I put a lot on the slide and I'm terribly sorry, but I wanted to give you guys a great overview. I think the first starts out by the first thing is understanding your buyer's buy box. I mean, that's where this whole thing really starts. If you want to be a good wholesaler, Start by, I hear people say, find the property, you'll find the buyer. I have a tendency of disagreeing with that. I don't want to find a property and not have a buyer. I want to have a buyer, because then when I have a buyer and I know what my buyers are buying, I can then go find a specific property and bring it to a buyer. And then you just keep growing from there. And now you go from single family to multifamily to commercial, for crying out loud. But I build my buyer side, and then I find my properties. They want location, property type, price range, preferred condition, exit strategy. Exit strategy is extremely important to know. Why? Because a rehab buyer wants to buy that property at 65, 66, 67% of ARV. A buy and hold buyer will buy it at 82, 83, 84% of ARV. So to understand the difference in your buyers tells you what kind of properties and the price range you're going to get them in. A buy and hold buyer is also going to tell you, I don't want to invest more than $15,000 in the rehab. Why? Because it's a rental. They want to get in, get out, rent it. A rehabber is willing to spend the 4, 5, 6 months to completely gut the property, open the floor plan, make it wonderful and beautiful, and sell it for $200,000 or $300,000 more than what they bought it for. That's a whole different type of buyer. But once you understand that, now you've got subsets of properties that you are now looking for. So now I've got my buy and hold acquisition wholesalers, and I've got my rehab long-term investor acquisition wholesalers. 2 different buy boxes, 2 different instructions going out to separate sets of wholesalers. So now you're starting to build your team, and you're giving them specific instruction on what to find, where, and how. Because once your buyers tell you, all my buyers tell me, I'm buying in these zip codes, I will not look for a property outside that zip code. It makes no sense. I won't even waste their time because I know they won't buy it. So when a wholesaler sends a property to me and I see it in my email and the zip code doesn't match, delete. I don't even look at it. I'm not going to waste my time, because there may be an email that's got a zip code that I'm looking for. That one I'm going to focus on. Finding the properties, cold calling, wholesalers, Craigslist, driving for dollars, referrals, realtors. I put realtors on the bottom because they're sometimes the most difficult to deal with until you train them and teach them who you are. I've got the case with 2 wholesalers I'm working with who are struggling with realtors. We're going to get on a phone so I can explain to the realtor who we are, what we do, how we operate, and the type of properties we're looking for. Right now, they're bringing everything on the MLS. It's not a deal. And what they consider us to be are low ballers. Well, of course we're low ballers. They're going to think we are because it's listed at $250,000 and we're coming in at, I don't know, 178. Because it doesn't make sense otherwise. So analyzing the deal, this is where everything breaks apart. The most important number is the ARV, and we'll go into something more detail. ARV, that's the starting point. I have had so many people, realtors included, tell me the ARV they have in an area is, let's say $900,000. When I run mine, I'll come up with 625. They're comping a property that's 1.5 miles away. I never go more than 1/4 mile away, ever. I'm 1/4 mile. I know some people subscribe to the 1/2 mile. I don't like 1/2 mile, especially when you're in a dense area. I go 1/4 mile. I will time travel. Time travel means I will go back in time. If I can't find something in the last 6 months, I'll go back 9 months. I'll go back 10 months. I'll go back 12 months. I'll even go back 24 months if I need to. I won't change the distance, but I will change the time. And then I'm going to look at the age of the house. I'm going to look at the square footage. And square footage, never more than 200, less than 200. Lot size, never more than 2,500 square feet. Age of the house, if it's older than 1970, you can push 10 years. If it's newer than 1970, it's 5 years, because construction materials and methods changed drastically from the 70s onwards. So it's 5 years. I will have people send me houses that were built in 1953 and the ARV is 1999. It's not a comp. There's no way that's a comp. The age of the house is way too different. Rehab costs, we talked about that. Estimating those rehab costs, putting closing costs in there, cost of money, your holding costs, realtor fees. If a realtor is involved, you've got to have realtor fees in there. You cannot not have those in there. And then my assignment fee. So all of that goes into making up the deal before I take it to a buyer. Marketing the deal, I go to buyers. My VIP buyers are first. Like I said before, 24 hours to make a decision. And that is those buyers who buy repeatedly from me. I will make a commitment to them. You get first look. But if you don't answer within 24 hours, I'm going wide. Hedge funds. Hedge funds, iBuyers, they're very difficult to work with because they're very, very specific, but boy, do they buy. I've got, I think 7 or 8 now in Atlanta. One of them is buying 240 properties a month. So I can't work hard enough to fill that pipeline. So when you find those, it's kind of like the golden goose, but you've got to find the property that fits perfectly inside that buy box. And it's a very tight buy box. But once you get them inside that tight buy box, it's just, you just move them. You just move them. That's all you have to do. Your buyers list, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, social media, disposition wholesalers, marketing packet and showing. What will kill a deal are 3 things when you market a property. 3 things. You don't have a good description of the property. You don't have pictures of the property, and you don't have access to the property. Those 3 things will kill a deal. I've had it personally happen where a buyer, I was relying on an AC wholesaler to be at a property to let a buyer in. The AC wholesaler flaked. The buyer showed up. I got a very nasty call saying, I'm done with that deal. I'm moving on. I missed a deal because the person did not show up for the showing. You've got to be sure. I always ask for a lockbox on the door. I will rely on a code more than an individual. So I want a lockbox on that door. If the house is occupied with tenants, I will make sure that the seller will coordinate with the tenants. And this is where you keep control of the deal. They will coordinate with the tenants, and we have a window of 2 to 3 hours to get in, see the property, and come out. But those 3 things will mess up a deal. Contracting, you've got your purchase and sale agreement with your seller, your option and agreements with the buyers and with the wholesalers. I'm sorry, I put that in twice. Title instruction sheet, I always do, and that's where my OCD kicks in. When I put paperwork into title, I always do a title instruction sheet. And it's a story. I'm writing a story for the title company, and I'm explaining who the seller is, who the buyer is, or the AC wholesaler, who I am, who I'm assigning my contract to, who the buyer is, what all the monies that are involved, what the seller is going to get, what the AC wholesaler is going to get, what I'm going to get, what the buyer is buying it for. Anything involved in that deal, I put in my title instruction sheet.
All
So
right,
when
before you go further,
Yep.
the name of this talk is Raising the Bar on Wholesaling.
Yep.
There's one little thing, just that title instruction sheet.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. And there's a combination of these things that Scott does that raises the bar on wholesaling for everyone. He is looking at all the points of contact. How does he make it a better experience for the seller? Well, it's about them first, not the deal. How does he make it easier for the title company, an instruction sheet? How does he make it easier for the buyer? It's really being the concierge and finessing at every contact point, serving each and every person involved in the deal. not taking for granted the service providers like the realtors and the title
What are you all
people.
doing?
Hey, Casey, he's in the middle of a presentation.
I'm in the middle of a presentation. She said hi.
Hi,
I thought
Casey.
it was over.
No.
No, he's
She said
going
no.
on and we love it.
She said I'm going on and they hate me.
They love him.
Hurry up.
So I've heard from title companies that, and I'm not tooting my own horn, not at all, but a lot of them have not seen something like that before. And I've gotten comments from title officers saying, this is awesome. It tells us everything. We don't have to guess. And you're going that extra mile, because again, what you don't want to do is have too many questions in a closing, especially when you've got a lot of documents. I just dealt with one that's got a power of attorney. One person's in Tennessee, the other's in Atlanta. The title company is in, the seller's in Tennessee. The person with the power of attorney is in North Carolina. The property's in Atlanta. So there's so many moving parts to that deal that a title instruction sheet spells out everything about that deal. So when I send it, there should be no questions coming back from title on what is happening, who is selling it, how are they selling it, who are we selling it to, who's getting paid what, all the documents. I make sure I put on the second page, any document I'm including, I list them so that they can take that piece of paper and they can back check it against what is attached to the email with that list. They should have everything. And I ask them to confirm it. I also include all wire instructions. All wire instructions for the buyer, for me, for the seller. All the wire instructions are there without the last 4 digits of the bank account. For the bank account, title is to call each individual individually and get the last 4 digits. I don't want anybody saying their information was compromised. So when all that goes in the title, I want to know that on the closing date, we're going to close. So you always have the unknowns, and we'll deal with the 5% unknowns. What I don't want is to have 95% unknowns and we're all scrambling trying to meet the closing date. So by doing that, by taking an hour to fill out that form and question myself before, do I understand this? Is everything explained in bullet points all the way through? When I answer that question, yes, all the documents are put in an email that is sent to title. I have title call me to confirm they got it. The day after I call them to say, have you read the title instruction sheet? Do you have any questions? No, we don't. It's clear. Great. Then I will call you in 5, 7, whatever days just to check in. Let me know when you're going to have the preliminary HUD statement ready so that we can all review it. So what you want to do is make sure when you're getting, like we're doing a closing this Friday. I was on the phone this morning with title to make sure there are no issues. The HUD statement's being issued tomorrow so we can all review the HUD statement. We're good to go for Friday.
Being proactive, you're not waiting and wishing. Now, Scott,
Yep.
Once you wrap up on this slide, I want you to fast forward because
We're going to fast forward. I'm sorry, everybody.
No. This is great. It's wonderful.
I
But
told you that.
I want there to be time for questions, and I also want you to present the opportunity too.
Okay.
And you can share this slide deck with me. I can share it with people. We're recording this so everyone can watch it. We'll post it into the event. You'll go into the group, go to events and scroll down to past event. It'll be the one on the top. You click on this event, you'll be able to watch it. We post them in YouTube. And, if, who wants him to come back for part 2? Either raise your hand or do something in the chat box. And
Get up and do it. Get up and do a happy dance. I want to see people do a happy dance. Come on. We got to go.
So we'll do part 2. And Scott, where I'd like to do part 2 is I want you to check your schedule for the last Tuesday night in October.
Okay, I will do
believe it's
that.
the 26th, and we'll do part 2. because there's some questions that have come in that I want to
Mhm.
ask, but I want you to be able to wrap up somewhere where you feel like it's.
Yeah,
a good
let's
time.
flow through this real quick. I've got why
Okay.
sellers sell. I think read this at your leisure. Bottom line, what I wanted to say here is if a homeowner or seller has no problem, no motivation, no equity, we didn't even talk about that. I never call a property that doesn't have more than 30% equity. Ever. When I pull my list, the minimum equity that property must have is 30% equity. Or I can't do anything. Now, I'll switch it around. It could be a sub 2, it could be a creative finance deal. But if I'm looking at a wholesale deal, if it doesn't have at least 30% equity, I've got nothing to work with. There's nothing I can do for the seller. So I'm wasting the seller's time. So I always look for that.
All right,
Finding
so
motivated
Scott,
sellers. Yep.
hold on a second. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is all good and I don't want you to rush through. We're going to do part 2. I
Okay.
want you to look on your calendar, and when we wrap up tonight, I want you to stay online with me when everybody else leaves. So a little debrief. I want to get a couple of quick questions out, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it. Let's do
All
it,
right.
please.
So Paula Orty wants to know if you could give an example of the title instruction sheet, or you can share it with me and I can post it in the
I'll
group
share it with you.
in the
Yep.
event.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And then also earlier, let's see, there was a question here. Anita was asking if you use national title companies, and I told her you use local ones, but
Mhm.
is there a case where you do have a national one that you use?
I've started a relationship with, well, the name of the company is National Title Solutions. They are in, I don't know how many states, 20 or 30 states. So yes, I do. I
Okay.
like working with local title companies, but working with a national, especially when you start working in multiple regions, makes it really nice and convenient. Because I've got my account manager, Tom. He knows exactly what I do. I know they do closings, they do assignments. And so no matter where I go, where they are, I know I can get the job done. The nice thing with having a national title company too is they have buyers on a national level. So when I'm dealing with somebody who's got a multiple portfolio, because look, I'm doing tired landlords. I can call a tired landlord who's living in California that's got 26 properties in Florida. I want those 26 properties in Florida. So if Tom and his team are in Florida, I'm taking that deal to Tom, because Tom will help me bring that across the finish line with that seller who's sitting in California.
Okay.
There you go. So yes.
Now, and a couple of other things. Would
Mhm.
you say your list of sellers, where does your list of sellers come from, that you do a lot of calling and you
Mhm.
do a lot of volume?
Mhm.
So where would you say you're getting your main lists that you call on?
I generate lists from PropStream. That's what I use. My 3 favorite lists are vacant properties, tired landlords, high equity. Those are
Okay.
my favorite lists. The other list that I do a lot of is driving for dollars. I love driving for dollars. Those lists are some of the best lists you will ever have.
Okay. And then because you're just a calling fiend, how
Mm.
many sellers would you say you talk to each day?
Well, I'm averaging between 10 to 15% hit ratio.
Okay.
So per hour, I'm dialing between 100 and 100, 120, 150 an hour. So I'm probably talking to 10 to 12 people an hour. My calls with a person will last maybe 5 minutes, not more. That first call is really getting to know each other initiation. It's rare that I'm going to get to the heart of everything. What I want to know, and that's the first part of the script, is, hi,
You're
my name is Scott.
qualifying.
There you
Yeah.
go. Hi, my name is Scott. I'm calling about the property I believe you own on Main Street. Too many people read a script. They say 1, 2, 3 Main
Yeah,
Street.
you don't
into-"
announce
No,
you're an investor. You
no.
don't tell them
Nope.
your
Never,
name of
ever,
your
ever say,
company.
no,
What
never.
they want to hear is that you're interested in buying the property.
I'm a local boy.
Short, sweet, simple.
Never,
Yep.
ever say you're a home investor or a property or real estate investor. Never say, because in their mind, what do they see? A shiny Mercedes pulling up out front, taking advantage of them. Nope. I'm a local home buyer. That's it.
There you go.
And the dialer I have is dialing from a zip code in their area. I don't call with my cell phone with a 925 number. I'm calling with a 617 number that's in their area. So I'm a local home buyer. Wanted to know if you would accept an offer on that property.
All
Period.
right, here's another example of raising the bar.
Mhm.
Okay, there's discipline, there's commitment, there's consistency, there's technology, there's delegate to elevate and automate. So Scott couldn't do all of this by himself. He's
No.
building a team. He's building an army. It all started in Florida with a guy named
Mhm.
Joe, and Joe
Yep.
was the prototype. For remember Joe?
Yep.
Joe
Yep.
was the prototype of his perfect acquisition wholesaler.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
we hit some road bumps with him spending too much time coaching people that weren't coachable, that were lazy, that were wanting to split, but he was doing all the work. He's looking for a certain type. He's building his team. He is building a wholesale syndication across the United States. He is positioned to scale quickly. So
Yep.
Scott, who are you looking for? And again, I want you to stay on after when we wrap up,
Mhm.
because I have some ideas, Michael, I want you to stay on too, that we want to talk to you about. So what are you looking for in the people that would be worthy to come onto your team? Talk to us about, really briefly, because we're running out of time, what that process is, that you have a training group, you have Comparama, just really, really chunked way up. We can go into more details. I want to give you more time because this is yummy. This is good. Who is seeing wholesale in a whole different kind of way now? Who is seeing more possibility with wholesaling? Right on. So Scott, look at October 20, October 26th. Let's see if we can get you back for that,
We will.
because I still have that open. But talk to us about how you're building your team.
What I look for, anybody who's got the heart of a teacher, but the drive of a warrior.
Love that.
That's what you need, because you're going in, you're helping people. That's the bottom line. I don't want anyone who's trying to take advantage of another. That doesn't fit my culture or my mindset. That's not what we do. We're not there to take advantage of a homeowner. So anyone who has the heart of a teacher and the drive of a warrior, I am willing to share and teach and train on how to do wholesaling and get them going. And I will share in the deal with you. I will teach you. I'll walk you through how to find a distressed property, how to talk to a seller. We'll talk to a seller together. You can be on a call with me, and then we will start doing deals together. Where
Now,
in
he
whatever
used to
market you
do-
are.
Yeah, and he used to do this one-on-one. And
Mhm.
now, how are you doing that, Scott?
I'm doing it in a group. I have a group every Thursday at 3 p.m. I have a group of people that I mentor.
That's
and,
Pacific time.
Pacific
so
time.
that's 6
Yep.
p.m. Eastern. And if you're
6
somewhere in the
p.m.
middle,
Yeah, mountain.
figure it
Yeah,
out.
somewhere in the middle. Yeah, exactly. Figure it out. So I mentor a group, and from that group, I have people who branch off and say, "Hey, I've got someone in that group today. I told Rihanna before, my wife and I are doing our first buy and hold. It's with a member of that group who found a property in Ohio, and we're going to partner in on that deal to do a buy and hold together." There you go. So she found the property. I ran the numbers with her. She's got the relationship with the seller. We're going to make it happen. And that's a sub 2, actually. We're going to do a sub 2 deal on that. So there you go. That's the way this whole thing works. Network the heck out of it.
Relationships.
You cannot isolate. You can't work on an island. If you think you can wholesale on your own, you're going to fail. That's the bottom line.
All right. So look, I would typically open this up for questions,
Mhm.
but we're at time. So
Sorry.
what I want to do, no, you know what? Do not apologize because you are just so full. Who is bummed out that we went an hour and a half on this? No one's bummed out about that because it's great stuff that you're offering, Scott. You are showing us a whole new way of wholesaling. So
Well, and I
Scott,
told
what I
you,
want to
you
ask,
gotta, you're gonna have to reel me in because when I start
oh,
talking
no, I'm
wholesale,
not.
I get
No,
going.
we don't
Okay.
reel in brilliance. No, we harness it and ride it. So, Scott,
Mhm.
if you had a rooftop message that the whole world could hear and heed, what would you want people to take away from this tonight?
The limitation in wholesaling is you. That's it. Anybody can do what I do. The only limitation you've got is yourself. I've talked to so many people who are afraid to pick up that bloody phone and talk to a seller. Conquer your fear.
I love
I mean,
it.
the most beautiful thing is when you get your first wholesale deal.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest fear a lot of people have is when the seller says, yes, I want to sell. Because then they say, what the heck do I do now? Well,
So-
that's why you got guys like me. I will help
And-
you take it across the finish line.
And all right, look, guys, Scott is brilliant. Yes.
Oh,
And I want
thank
to
you.
do a
I'm
I want to
humbled.
do a plug, a shameless plug here. He invests like he's got 1,600 hours. I mean, 600 hours of real estate. He has coaches, he has support.
Mhm.
And there was a point where Scott was stuck trying to do it all. And we had a conversation and Michael worked with him doing some NLP about a
He's
belief.
the only guy who made me cry in the last 10 years. I will
Yeah.
I will not talk to you again, Michael.
Yeah, but you had a breakthrough. It was life changing.
It was absolutely life changing. I mean,
Because
I bless
Scott
you,
got
Michael. I'm only
stuck.
kidding. I'm only kidding.
Scott
But
got stuck.
yeah,
thinking
you took
he had
me to the
do
next
it all.
level.
Right.
You took me to the next level.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so look, this is so delicious and yummy. We have to have you back. Everybody, we're going to go around and give Scott a little shot of love. And it's brief. I don't want you rambling on. It's be really succinct what the gold was for you. What was the takeaway? What did you really appreciate about today's talk with Scott? And I want to start with you, Anita.
Hi, my biggest takeaway from today is that with the wholesaling, just to be honest and make a deal, because there's a lot of wholesalers out there that just waste your time. But
Mhm.
if you do it right, then the deal sells itself. As long as you have a buyer's list and you know what you're looking for, start with the end in mind. So thank you for that.
Bravo. I couldn't have said that better than myself, Anita. Absolutely.
Thank you
How
for your
about-
time.
Thanks, Anita. I'm glad you're here. How about you, Mike?
Hi,
Hi, Mike.
can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
It really reaffirmed some things I already knew about wholesaling. It got me re-excited about wholesaling again because I was a little bit lost in terms of where should I jump back into the game. You know, I'd done really well in the MLS, but it's time to take, the training wheels off and really roll with the big boys, so to speak. I'm excited. I want to be able to find out more from Scott Jenkins because what he knows, and I guess the bottom line is this: I've been wanting to know for the last 16 months what Astra flipping was, and I got a really good picture of what that was this afternoon, and I liked what I saw. I really did, and it answered some questions for me and filled in some blanks.
Good for
Let's
you.
go.
Scott, I want you to put your contact information, the best way to contact you for
Mhm.
people like Mike who might want to join forces with you. Now, I want to protect Scott's time, so he operates in his zone of brilliance. He is busy, and so he will return calls in the afternoon or evening.
Yeah.
If he doesn't return your call, you are not pestering him to contact him again and say, hey, what's going on? He's running 2 businesses. He's extremely busy, but he will make the time for you. So if you
Mhm.
haven't heard from him in like a week or something, not likely, but it's possible, just reach out to him again. You won't be pestering him. You've got to show him that you're worth him investing his time. So pursue him. Okay. Melissa, thanks, Mike. Melissa, and Mike, I think you and Scott would be an excellent fit. Scott,
Yeah.
Mike's a really good behind the scenes technology guy on marketing systems.
Oh,
So you two need to geek out a little bit.
I need you,
together.
buddy. I need
Yeah.
you, buddy.
Yeah. So he could bring some skin to the game for
Yeah,
you.
I suck in that area. So
Yeah. And Mike loves it. He loves tinkering behind the scenes. Okay, how about you, Melissa? What's your takeaway from tonight?
There was many. It was hard. I would have to say the step up process at the end of the inspection period
mm,
and how Scott does the earnest money and he makes the sellers pay for that.
Buyers.
the buyer.
I'm sorry, the buyers pay for it, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I never put any money in the game ever. I have never put earnest money in a deal ever. It's always, and even double close, even on a double close. I've done double closes and the buyer pays my cost for a double close. We can go into detail on that, but I've never put money on the table.
Part 2. ...
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Thank you, Scott.
Yep.
Kathy Thornburg, you look stunning today, my dear.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. I just had my hair done.
Yeah, it
I-
looks great. It looks
Thank you.
great.
It's very red.
So Kathy is working with Scott. I put
Yeah.
them together. She's
Oh,
been what? It's been about a month now. Since
Well,
you've been.
Something like that.
Yeah, I haven't really been outstanding in any way because, I've been tied up in my,
Your rehab that you're
rehab,
selling.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I have a buyer though, again, we're from Detroit, actually. Like you had said, go for the big cities. So
Yeah.
we're waiting for this to come around. But I'm honored, so honored to be in this group. I'm so excited to be in this group. I mean, I can't even tell you how excited I am. And my takeaway too is going in and talking to some, I can talk to anyone. So I'm not really, afraid to pick up the phone, but to walk into someone's home, talk to them without a pencil and paper and just, build that relationship.
Be present
so
with them. Yeah.
glad
And you would be
to-
good at that. Yeah.
Well, I'm just really glad to hear that that's a thing because I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was appropriate or the way to go. So I'm very excited about that.
It's about the people, not the property.
Right,
Put yourself in the seller's shoes. You
Yeah.
set an appointment with them. They know you're coming. The anxiety level is probably a little bit high because they think in your mind, here comes this guy who's going to walk in and want to buy my house.
Right.
You walk in and you change the whole conversation. I don't know how many times I say, okay, well, you want to go see the backyard? No, I don't want to see the house.
Right.
I want to talk to you.
Totally different. Yeah.
Didn't you come to see the house? I want to meet with you.
Mhm.
And then that changes everything.
Yeah.
You're down to a personal level now. Remember what I said? It's not about the house. It's about the people.
Mhm. Well, I'm going to make you proud. Okay.
Oh, you always do. You always do.
Oh,
You always do. You're awesome.
Yvonne, what's your takeaway, hon? And welcome to the group. I'm so glad to have you here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's been great. I think my takeaway is that I already have a lot of the tools needed to do this. It's a matter of getting some structure and realizing, I mean,
Mm.
I do have a full-time W-2 job, so, you know, obviously I can't go full swing, but I can really start anywhere and hopefully
Mhm.
build up from there.
Mhm.
All right. How about you, Yorick? Thanks, Yvonne.
My takeaway is that I sit in this chair in my office, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day, selling technology to people across the United States. And to hear someone bring it all back home to me, where it's all about rapport. People buy and do business with people they like.
Yes.
First thing I
Yes.
do is when I get on the phone with someone, I'm like, how's your dog? You know, last time, you know, or how's your child? I know he was sick, you know, or how's your mom? You know, it's all about relationship and rapport. And
Yep.
so I started my real estate journey back in 2003 when my father walked away from his home. And it took me, it cost $14K to acquire his house, $40K to remodel it. When I appraised it before the remodel, it would appraised at 40K as well. And when I was done, it appraised for 300K. Today it's
Ooh.
worth 500K. And so I want to take that house and I want to go ahead and sell it because it's in Sacramento and it's a long distance landlord situation. However, I have the perfect renter in the house and I charge him like 20% less in rents. So he ain't going nowhere. So I can keep that house, and the house is, the neighborhood is slated for rehab and they're going to put luxury apartments. So I don't know, I might just borrow some money and keep the property.
I
Because,
think everybody on this call is drooling right now,
yeah,
Yorick.
Yeah.
so I have a jump off point where, you know, I want to stop working for corporate America and work for myself and be a passive investor and just get into commercial real estate and completely change my whole perspective on life and earnings and investments and stuff like that. But you know what you don't know, so you wait until you get to the right mentor, the right
Mm.
system, the right people to train you how to do it right, to avoid getting your all your assets taken away from you.
Yorick, you need to connect with Scott because
Oh yeah,
he is very strategic in the way he
Yep.
thinks.
yes.
And his head is probably being flooded
Oh,
right now,
I
Scott,
was
with all
already,
the,
I was
like
going to
that
tell
one
you,
property
I'm
could get
going
you
to
quitting
call you, York,
corporate.
and I'm going to make you a seller finance offer.
Well, you know what? I probably won't sell it because, like I said, the
Oh, yes, you will.
you're gonna have to do a lot to convince me because the property is still going up. People have the day I remodeled that house, I had investors and realtors calling me, and they still call me, and that was in 2003. They're still calling me for that property today, okay? Because they know what's coming.
York,
in that
they're
neighborhood.
not as nice as I am.
Yeah.
I am your new best friend.
What I want to do though is what you've done is you've given me the confidence to finally, because I've always said wholesale is going to be my entry point into this business after, you know, putting my credit cards down to get to invest in the fortune builders. And
Mhm.
so wholesaling was going to be the key, but I didn't hear enough to make me confident enough to take that leap.
All right.
You've done that.
Just for the interest of, I don't mean to,
I
yeah,
am
so
blessed. I'm blessed.
Yorick, I want you to grab Scott's contact information.
Call me.
And where you'll start is get in his training group. He's got two things he does. He does his Comparama meeting where it's just the team is talking about deals, right?
We're comping deals. We're comping
Yeah.
deals. Comping
And
deals.
then
I'm
he
showing
also
people
has-
how to comp.
Yeah, and then he also has his group that he's mentoring and training.
Yep.
So
On
you've got
wholesaling.
his contact information in the
Mhm.
comments. Thanks for.
And you're in a great market, York. You're in Sacramento area. That's a great market.
I'm in Arizona. My property's in Sacramento.
You're in two great markets.
I know. Because everybody's moving here for
Gee.
retirement, to
Dude.
get away from the coast. You know,
Dude.
who wants to live on the coast with climate change?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I call into Arizona a lot. Phoenix, Tucson, Scottsdale. Yeah. We need to talk.
I can't wait to put some synergy together for Arizona.
All right,
tear it up.
moving on, gentlemen, because we are way
Sorry.
over.
Sorry.
Thank you, Scott.
I got a couple more love, and I said brief. People don't know what that means. I usually don't know what being brief means either. But Paula, quick, sweetie, just get on there and give Scott some love.
Scott, thank you very much for showing me how much being a wholesaler can accomplish. I really like the idea that Kathy brought out about going into someone's home and not having any paperwork and just sitting down and talking to them directly. I think that opens up a lot of doors and has the seller relax.
Yes,
Really,
changes the game. They're expecting you to walk in with a briefcase, all the paperwork, sign here, and you do the complete opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck with that.
Glad you're here, Paula.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. Anisha, what's your takeaway, babe?
Thank you so much for having this. My takeaway is there's customer service in everything. And if you put a person first, it makes your life or what you have to do a whole lot easier because you have built trust and a friendship probably because they may refer other people to you that may be in similar situations.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And then last but not least, my partner in prosperity, Michael Platania, got a lot from this, Scott. So we are going to stay on after everyone leaves because we want to talk to you about a couple things. Michael, what's your takeaway from tonight?
Yeah, I'm just going to say it's how you do business, Scott. I mean, it's beautiful to hear the way you talk. You know, it's the people, not the property. But it's just everything you went along the way. I just heard these things that are a different way of looking at it that just was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Oh my God, that's brilliant. And I'm texting Rayan and like, you know, it's amazing. So awesome.
No, thank you. See, you're making me cry again. Stop it.
So everyone, we love you. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled.
Yeah. So everyone, we will have the recording as soon as we end the meeting and the recording. Michael will have it posted in this event in our Facebook group by tomorrow. We'll have it in there, and any resources like the script, the title information sheet, any of those resources that he's talked about, I'll get them from Scott and I'll give them to Michael. Michael will create a link so you have access to them. We'll put them in an area either in the event or resources. We'll let you know. So you will have access to all of that as soon as we get it from Scott. Thank you all so much for being here. We're doing this for you. Spread the word. And we love that these are intimate groups. And we'll have Scott back for part 2 so we can go deeper with just how he builds the team and works with his team.
We'll break down the deal and look at the team.
Yeah, and break down the deal and what he's looking for.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, so much. We'll see you next week. Next week, Bob McIntosh is going to be talking about how to monetize your website. And he is an internet freak. He was really a key partner in internet quick start at Fortune Builders at Mind Protein. And that's his shtick, man, is internet marketing. So Mike, you'll definitely want to geek out with Bob on our next Tuesday. Yeah, because you love that stuff. All right, everybody.
All right.
99. Thanks for hanging in there with us for such a long presentation.
All. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.